to the Tom Makeathon showcase for 2021. It is so fantastic to have you all with us today. It is Sunday at 2 o'clock in sunny, we're calling you from sunny Richmond over here, and it is the most magnificent day outside. And it is brilliant that you have chosen to join us today, and we really appreciate it. My name is Mandy McCracken. I've been with the Tom Makeathon group since I was a need know back in 2016, and it's been the most incredible experience that I've had. And I'm so thrilled to have you join us today to celebrate all things that are the Tom Makeathon for 2021. So first of all, we'd like to thank the traditional owners of the land, the Wurundjeri Woi Wurrung people, elders past, present and emerging. And of course, we'd love to thank the traditional owners from where you come from, because I think everyone is joining us from all over Australia. We've even got people internationally today on this Zoom with us, which is just brilliant. So I'd like to welcome you. I'd like to welcome all the participants. I'd like to welcome the participants' families, their guests, and also the sponsors that we've had that have helped put us on the map today. So Tom Melbourne, it might be new to you. You might have been with us for a number of years, but Tom Melbourne is one of 70 global communities from around the world that make up the Tom Global Movement, the Ticker Olam Makers. It's a global community of makers that use technology and innovation to bring us affordable solutions that aren't readily available on the market. And the mission for the Tom Global Movement is to reach over 250 million people within a 10-year span, which is just incredible. And what they are doing is creating assistive technology and solutions for people with disability. And they bring together two types of people: need knowers, which I tend to fit into that category, people with lived experience of disability, and they bring also the makers, who are designers, engineers, healthcare professionals, tradespeople, anybody who's handy with the tools. And the idea is that they bring together these groups to design, create and build products that currently aren't available on the disability market. And then once they've done that, they share the plans so that anyone out there can get onto the internet, find out what's being made, and they too, on a really tight budget, can build these products for themselves at home. So since 2016, Tom Melbourne has actually helped 42 different people, and we've brought together 400 makers that have partnered with organisations such as Swinburne University, PricewaterhouseCoopers, Solve Disability Solutions, and through our events as our Makeathons, we've established Tom at Uni, and STEM workshops in schools throughout Victoria. But today we're here to celebrate what's been happening since February. We've had an incredible couple of months bringing together those people to create solutions that will be available for anyone out there to pick up and use themselves. So before we begin, we've got a little intro video from Gidi Grinstein. He is an Israeli serial social entrepreneur. He's a leader and an author, and founded the Reut Institute, which is Israel's most cutting-edge not-for-profit strategy, development and leadership group, and they're specialising in leadership on societal disruption. I'll get it out there. With Reut, Gidi has led the creation of Tom, a bold social project, and since then, Tom's been recognised by the Blackstone Charity Trust, Inc. and Forbes magazines, and has won multiple accolades. And here's his message for us today.
Debbie, Kumari, the entire Tom Melbourne community, from New York, from Israel, from all other places of the global Tom movement, we congratulate you for the conclusion of this very special Makeathon, combining a virtual experience with this in-person gathering. You in Tom Melbourne have been trailblazing, path-breaking for our global movement. It is not only the work that you have done in Melbourne, it is also the contribution of your experience and wisdom to the global Tom movement. We deeply appreciate that and are grateful for it. And we look forward to working together toward helping millions of people and making this world a better place. Congratulations from New York.
Fantastic to hear from our friends far from overseas. So my story with the Tom Makeathon, I started in 2016 as a need knower, and I just heard of Tom through the grapevine. I had a mutual friend that had a connection to the Tom group, and the word went out asking whether or not there was people out there that were interested in having something made for them that they couldn't access elsewhere. And I'd always wanted to ride a bike. My children were young, and you know, getting out on a bike with the kids was a dream that I had lost. When I was 39 years old, I lost my hands and feet to sepsis, and I honestly didn't understand the disability world until then. And now I am very much a part of it, and very much part of the community that's out there. So for me, Tom has been, yes, life-changing. I thoroughly enjoyed riding my bike with my kids after COVID lifted. We went on the rail trails out at Beaconsfield, and it was just magnificent. And if it hadn't have been for the team at Tom putting that together for me, I would never have done so. And over the years, I've also been a part of a team that built a bottle pourer. It was a device that the idea was you push a button and it would pour the perfect glass of wine or put milk on your cereal or anything like that, for people that would struggle holding up bottles and moving, you know, doing that arm movement. And I've also been a part of a group that made a wheelchair cleaner. And again, it is something that I use regularly. I have it at home, and it would have been completely out of my budget to go and buy one directly off the internet. And it, you know, it wouldn't have fitted my wheelchair and done what I needed. So I was incredibly lucky to be part of the Tom team right from the word go, and it is absolutely brilliant to be able to see so many familiar faces come through and so many fresh new faces as well. And I'm sure we will hear from the participants today as how much they feel to be part of the Tom family. And I know sitting here in the office in Melbourne, it's, you know, we're all here as a big family after these last few days. So the structure today, what we're going to do is we've got 4 teams that have all built prototypes for their need knowers, their people with disability, and they're going to take us through what it is that they created. And we're also going to hear from Mary Henley Cullopy, who has been also a need knower over the years herself, and she stepped into the role of being a need knower ambassador. And Mary might be able to tell us what it is that she's been up to, and afterwards we'll get back onto the teams and what they've been doing. Thanks, Mary.
I'll start that again. Good afternoon, everybody. It's an absolute pleasure to be with you all today. And I thank Tom Melbourne for the opportunity of being with you all. My name is Mary, and I have been involved with Tom Melbourne since 2019, when my exercise physiologist suggested that in conjunction with the exercise I was doing with him, that I really needed an apparatus that I could do some more exercises on the other days. So that's been a great success, and still keep in contact with my team, which is wonderful. I was then privileged to be a part of the Tom University, and they are finalising a product that I can use to get a CPAP machine off my head, or the mask off my head. And that will enable me, the first time in about 25 years, to have a decent sleep. Sleep apnea is a very debilitating condition to have on top of my disability. So I'll be very grateful when I receive that. During that experience, I was then asked if I would accept the role for the next session of being a Tom Need Knower ambassador. What a privileged role that is. I am incredibly grateful to be able to support and work with our need knowers and their families as they commence their journey with Tom Melbourne. We had a fabulous group of people that supported Brenton, Charlie, and Leonard, who you will meet later. And there was also some assistance given to a special school to enable something that hadn't been able to be done for a while, but you'll get more information about that shortly. So to be a Need Knower ambassador is the most privileged role I think I could imagine. Tom is such an innovative program, and it's very much thanks to Debbie Dadon, who has brought this program to Australia. And I know that there are dozens and dozens of people who, up until now and into the future, who will be very grateful that she had the insight to bring this program to Australia. I don't think I'll go too much into the projects because the specific projects that Tom Melbourne did just a few weeks ago. Suffice to say that we couldn't have had a lovelier group of need knowers and their families. My goodness, were they engaged and excited about the prospect of being a need knower with Tom. There were tears, there was disbelief that they'd been accepted, and it was just a privilege to be part of that journey with them. I spent a couple of days with both teams, and I just saw some sense of, I don't know if they're going to be able to do this, through to, oh my goodness, they're actually doing this, and they're doing it for me, and the families are thinking this is phenomenal for my son or daughter. So I thank you once again for Tom Melbourne for allowing me to be a part of this amazing program. It is, as Mandy said, life-changing. And of a number of the community programs I'm involved with, I think this one has a very special place in my heart. So without further ado, I'll throw it back to you, Mandy, and look forward to hearing what everyone has got to present today. Thanks, Mandy.
Thanks, Mary. Yes. It's been a hoot, that's for sure. So yes, now we finally get to the fun part where we get to meet our need knowers and their families, and also the makers who put together their prototypes for them. So first up, we've got Team Brenton. Now I'm going to try and say everyone's names today, and I apologize in advance when I get them wrong. It's not my skill set, but we'll see how we go. So our need know today is Brenton Ponza. His mother is Helen Briffa. Vanessa Ponza is his sister. We've also got Kellen Huang, and in the team we've got Alicia Chong, Michael Abrams, Rachel Ambrose, Ravinda Sirimana, Sam Pinches, Tom Searle, Yahweh Thiem, Yu Wei Kiai, and they're going to join us today and tell us what they've been up to. And I would love to know what worked really well, what didn't work, and how you guys got through it, and what's been the outcome at the other end. Did you get it all done?
Excellent. Hopefully I'm live. Yeah. Great. Hi, my name is Sam. I'm here on behalf of Team Brenton. Yeah, we've had the privilege of working with our need knower Brenton and his mother Helen over the last few weeks. The problem we've been given to look at is Brenton uses gloves for skiing, for gardening, and he would like to be able to put those gloves on by himself. So we were challenged with coming up with a device or way that he could do that. If we can go to the slideshow. Hopefully it comes up. Excellent. So that's the team there on the front there. If we can go to the next slide, please. I'm going to get...
Our team had the pleasure of working alongside the clever and...
Try that again. So Alicia will be introducing Brenton's need to us.
clever and charismatic Brenton and his amazing mum Helen as our need knowers. Brenton is a very active and busy 23-year-old and amongst many other things works at a gardening centre 3 times a week, potting, pruning, mowing and sweeping. He's involved in many tasks which require the functional use of his hands and therefore he needs accessible and protective gardening gloves. Putting the gardening gloves on independently poses a challenge due to Brenton's cerebral palsy as he has difficulty with grading his movement and finger isolation. The increased tone in his upper limbs creates a further challenge for Brenton to smoothly and accurately place his fingers and his hands in the glove. For Brenton to stabilise, it is best if he engages with a grasp bar while seated to aid in accurate hand placement when using an assistive device. With all this information and Brenton's love for the Western Bulldogs, Team Brenton was up for the challenge.
Alrighty, so this is the problem that we've been set to help Brenton to be able to put on gloves by himself to help him when he does his gardening. And we did hear some of that personal touch. So Brenton does have a love for the Western Bulldogs, and we've tried to incorporate that into our design. Let's go to the next slide, if it's okay. Got a quick video here.
Now, the challenge that we were initially given was to design a pair of assistive gloves, and for this, we started to research. What we found was the gloves come in a wide range of designs with incredible complexity in the way they are put together. Stretchy mesh fabrics, elastic inserts, rubber dip coatings and contoured 3D stitching. We quickly realised that making or even modifying a pair of gloves was likely to be beyond our skills. Instead, after discussion with Helen and Brenton, we decided to tackle building an assistive device to help Brenton to put on standard store-bought gloves. This would also mean when the gloves wore out, they could be replaced much more easily. Since everybody's hands are different, we started by taking measurements of Brenton's hands. We worked out what size holes he could get his fingers into, and by making some clay hand impressions and 3D scanning them, we were able to get most of the dimensions that we needed. Now, the challenge that we were initially given was to design a pair of... Now, the challenge...
Beautiful.
By now, the team was already hard at work coming up with the design concepts, with a range of different approaches.
Yeah, there's sound, so you go back, sorry. If you restart that slide, sorry.
By now, the team was already hard at work coming up with the design concepts, with a range of different approaches being explored. We also searched online and found some interesting starting points by looking at assistive devices for putting on socks. In some of our designs, the glove cuff was wrapped over a tube or a C shape to try to hold the glove open more loosely, while in other designs the fingers were inserted into fully supported tubes. Along the way, we also encountered several challenges as we refined our designs. The first hurdle was, how are we going to handle the thumb? If we could get, say, the first 4 fingers in, perhaps Brenton could pull the rest of the glove on himself. Another problem was, once the fingers on hand were in the glove, how was Brenton supposed to remove his hand? The device had to be designed not to get in the way of this. We explored a range of ideas, from clips to hinges. Yet another consideration was, how are we going to mount all of this for Brenton to use? Some of the solutions were designed to be fixed to a table, while others were used handheld. We worked out a list of resources we needed to prototype, and from here we felt ready for the Makeathon day.
Yep, go for it. So yeah, on the Makeathon day, we brought a whole lot of the concept sketches and designs we had to the team. And on the day, we made up some very basic prototypes to test some of the different mechanisms. That way, we were able to identify which mechanism worked the most effectively, and that helped us to select a design route, which we pursued further and refine the design from there. Would you like to go to the next slide? So the evolution of the design was basically through a 3-step iterative process. Firstly, we worked with Brenton and Helen to work out what Brenton's strengths were. We developed simple prototypes and then iterated those, testing and validating each time to improve the product. Next slide. So the Makeathon day was a fantastic fun, getting to work with a team in person finally. It's a challenge working on Zoom, Slack, WhatsApp, across the different platforms, but working in person, there's no substitute for that. So we developed a few different prototypes and we were able to test those with Brenton. This way we were able to confirm that Brenton can put on the thumb himself. As long as we could help him to get the first 4 fingers of his hand in, he would be successful following that step. We tried a range of different prototypes on the day, including some paddle designs, which we laser cut, and some additional devices we created to help keep the glove cuff open, making it easy for Brenton to get his hand in. We eventually decided not to pursue these ideas, but it just shows the diversity of different things that we tried. The design that we eventually selected was based on this set of tubes, which would allow Brenton's fingers to be guided in. The tube had a flange at the top, which would make it easy to stretch the glove and make the glove holes very visible. And this made it easy for Brenton to guide his hands in. Through all the testing though, we were holding the device manually for him, and we had to work out how could we translate this to some kind of device to hold the fixture in place in a way that would be easy for Brenton to use by himself. There's some more photos of the first prototype design that we looked at on the Makeathon day. If you go to the next slide. So from there, we took that first basic sketch and then refined it. And that's what led us to this first more refined design, which is has fewer sharp edges. And this made it easier for the glove to slide on and off. There were several challenges with the design, and this meant that 3D printing was the best option due to the complexity of the curves and different shapes. This device did work reasonably well. And I think on the next slide, once this one finishes, there's a brief demo of Brenton trying this one on. You can skip to the next one. So this is a brief demo of me actually using the device, demonstrating how it works. Firstly, someone puts a glove on their hand and then is able to load the machine up, load the device up with the glove ready for Brenton. And then once the glove has been loaded onto the device, Brenton can then take it, and then using his other hand, he can pull the glove up onto his hand, and then following that, pull the thumb over his hand as well. So here's Brenton giving that a trial. As you can see, it does take him a few tries to get there. This video in particular was very successful because our initial prototypes involved holding the device at an angle. But after leaving the device with Helen and Brenton, they did some further testing and found that when the device was on the table, that was actually a bit easier for Brenton to get his hands into the device. This led to us making some further modifications to refine the way the device works. I'll let it finish. Yeah. So you can see Brenton trying to pull up the glove onto the rest of his hand. So Helen added loops onto the gloves to make this process a bit easier. And this was the only modification that was needed to be made to the gloves, which was a win in our perspective, because modifying the gloves is a big challenge each time. We can go next one, yep. So the final design we came up with was a 2-part solution involving a device we're calling the sled, and then a device which rests on a table. The way this works is you load the glove onto the sled the same way, and then you place it on this tray. The tray has grooves, and these grooves, Brenton can place his hand on the table, and that will guide his hand into the sled with the glove already on it. So go to the next slide. There's a photo, I think, with the glove on it. As you can see, there's some very large openings which make it easy for Brenton to grasp and pull up the hem of the glove once it's on the sled. Okay, so we're going to do a quick demo of how this works. You go to the next slide. So here you can show just how easily that the hands go into the holder once the glove's on there. So for this demo, I'm going to do my right hand. Right hand? Yep. So place the glove on myself, place fingers into the glove, and then I can pull the glove over the device itself. The key is to pull the glove tightly over it so that the 4 finger holes are easy to access. So hopefully you can see there's the 4 finger holes there. This can then slide into the base, and then Brenton can try to insert his hands using that guide. Take your time, Brenton. The challenge we found in particular was getting the pinky finger in. It may be easy, Brenton, if you want to pull out and try again. Oh, you've almost got it. There you go. Well done. So Brenton, now you can pull the red device out of the sled. Yep. Awesome job, Brenton. Well done, Brenton. So that's a success right there. Brenton, give me a high five. Nice job. So that's the demo. It's not perfect, and it could definitely be refined further, but this was a success to get to this point with Brenton able to do it this way. And I imagine that with further practice, Brenton will get even better at using this device.
Sam, I would love to just ask you a question, if I might.
Yep.
I think watching Brenton put that glove on is the most fantastic example of how an able-bodied world just has no idea of the challenges that somebody with a disability might have. Did you learn much from going through this process yourself? And do you think the team have a better understanding now as able-bodied people what challenges we have?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. Thanks, Mandy. Yeah, I learned heaps from about challenging the assumptions I had about what he would or wouldn't be able to do. And I found myself getting frustrated at times, and I had to learn from that and go, hold on, actually, this is about me and my expectations, not about what's best for making a solution for Brenton. Yeah, I think we all learned different things working as a team. There was a great bunch of people, which I'm really grateful to have met. And hopefully they would also have said this was a really positive experience overall too.
And can we get just a quick word with Brenton's mum? I'm sure she can tell us exactly how it's been for Brenton and what the outcome has been for you as a family.
Yeah, it's an amazing experience to be through, and feel very privileged to actually be part of the team. As you've said, Mandy, a simple thing is putting on a glove that we all take for granted. It's such a big effort for Brenton, but provides him with some independence. Sam just came around with this morning, so lots of practice with Brenton. I'm sure he will improve with this, and yeah, it's just been an amazing experience. And I think Brenton is, and we are very happy to be part of it, and it's been a very special experience. Brenton also has something that he would like to say.
Please.
Dear Tom, people, a very big thank you for finding the solution to the gardening gloves. I am excited to use them. Thank you for time, patience and volunteering. I have had heaps of fun being part of Team Brenton and feel so lucky to be part of Tom. It was special to be accepted on the Tom team. Thank you so much, everybody. You are all very special people.
Thank you very much, Brenton. On behalf of the team, really appreciate working with you. It's been an absolute pleasure. You're a lovely guy, and I wish you all the best in the future. And I know that whether it be challenges ahead, I have confidence that you'll be able to find solutions as well with the help of other people too. So yeah, thank you for the time. Yeah, I'll shake your hand on that. Like love hand? Nice.
Congratulations, everyone. That's absolutely brilliant. You've got messages of thank yous coming through. And I must admit, I have to tell everyone, if you want to ask a question or send any messages of encouragement, please pop a note onto the chat, or you can do so through Facebook. But Helen and Brenton, there are lots of thank yous coming from your team over the text messages, and congratulations to you all on what looks like a fantastic success.
Thank you. And Brenton's final word is? Saying go mighty dogs.
It all comes down to football, really, doesn't it? My goodness. Congratulations to you all, and
thank you.
you look like you've had a lot of fun. Brilliant stuff. Well, I hope you all stay in touch, which I'm sure you will. All right, so we're up to our second team coming through. Now this is Team Leon. Let me get my notes here. So we have Leon Leotivi, who is the need knower, and Leon's father Tony joined him as well, and David Jennings was the mentor of this group, and included in the makers was Julia Wacker, Duncan Glasgoodine, Matthew Tout, Melissa Maxwell, Sadeep Haritha, Stacey Lee Swindon, and Thanaporn Witty. Oh, this is a big surname that I will get right. Witty Kara Npong. I hope I got that right. Apologies if I didn't. And they're going to be joining us today in just a moment to talk about a wheelchair attachment that they wanted to build for Leon so that he had the ability to feed himself. And again, that's one thing that we've all learnt is even just the simplest of things that able-bodied people take for granted. You have no idea how simple things can be an incredible challenge. And it might be something that's incredibly complex that is the answer, or hopefully it's a really simple solution. And I hope that these guys won't be far away from telling us what they got up to. And actually, just whilst they're setting themselves up, watching Brenton put his gloves on, of course, it's always when the cameras are on, when, things are a bit of a challenge. The day that came the showcase for the bottle pourer that I did, of course, we pressed go, and my bottle pourer poured an entire 2-litre bottle of milk over one of my team members' laptops. So it's not always perfect on the day, but here they are now. So I'll pass it on to our, I'm not sure. I think it's Sid who's going to tell us about Leon's challenge. Thanks, Sid.
Thanks, Mandy. Hey, my name's Sid. This is Leon here. Leon requested a device to help him in feeding himself. So Leon has recently started struggling to lift his arm properly, his right arm. We just wanted to build something that would hopefully help him have an easier time doing that. So if we can get the first slide up. So our main idea for this was just for a device which would balance the force downwards that his arm would be feeling from the added weight of food as well. So yeah, we had this design in mind first, which is a 4x linkage for any engineers out there. It has a couple springs at the bottom there, which would balance the force from the elbow and the forearm. Now, this idea was great on paper, but it was actually very difficult to mount onto the wheelchair. The chair doesn't have that many mounting points. I guess it's not really meant to house extra stuff, but it does have some nice railing at the bottom here, which we can attach to. Now, just because of how we designed it, we couldn't get this onto the wheelchair while not obstructing Leon. So we actually changed up the design a bit. If we can get the next slide. So we went with a simple monitor mounting arm. So a monitor mount has a angled bit that would help get away from the bulk of the wheelchair and then come from behind Leon to use the same sort of 4x linkage, but with a gas strut instead of springs this time to alleviate the force that his arm feels. Now, this was great, but a monitor arm is meant for a much larger weight than what we were dealing with. So we had to improvise and take out that gas strut and reduce the pressure of it. So the one that was in there was an 800 Newton gas strut, but we decided to go with a 100 and then a 400 and a 600 Newton gas strut. We experimented a bit with that. Just to try and get the forces right so that Leon could easily lift his arm, but also easily push down the whole device when he needed to pick up food and bring it to his mouth. That sounded great on paper again, but we had issues with just balancing that force because I guess a monitor arm isn't really meant to move a lot, but we needed a lot of motion just so Leon would have a lot of freedom in how he could operate. So yeah, we spent a couple weeks drilling stuff out and just replacing gas struts and a lot of things, but didn't work out, unfortunately. We ended up also trying just replacing the whole gas strut with a spring to see if that helps. But yeah, the whole monitor arm just had way too much friction for us to counteract, unfortunately. So that brought us to our final design, which was, next slide. Second from last. So this one was a design that our mentor Dave came up with, which is really awesome. This used only springs and a cool dismounting mechanism, which would allow the whole device to stow itself when Leon finished eating. Now, this worked pretty nicely, but it restricted movement a lot. And we learned a lot about how our arms move when we eat, I guess. It's not really just an up and down motion. It's a lot of cyclical actions, which you need to counteract as well, or allow to happen, I guess. Now, because this device only had the motion in this sort of plane, it really didn't allow Leon to lift towards his mouth, which is unfortunate. Worked really cool without any movement from the arm, but yeah, it's not really useful for what we're trying to do for Leon. So we came up with this design, and we actually just started working on this last week, so it's very, very rough, but next slide, please. This device just takes into account just one or two springs that would lift his arm, but it would be allowed to move in the whole cyclical range without just restricting him to just a small movement in this direction. So this one would be cuffed to Leon's wrist, just about here, and a small support would be placed on his elbow, so it would allow him to get a lot more motion in, but restrict his elbow so that he doesn't have to put a lot of force into this. Yeah, so that's kind of what we're working with right now. We would like to thank Leon a lot for his patience, because we have been working on this for a while and we have a lot of ideas, but yeah, nothing concrete just yet. But hopefully at the end of this week, we have something awesome that Leon can start using and actually be helpful for him. Yeah, thanks, Leon.
My pleasure. I enjoy being a puppet.
Yeah, Leon's been a great puppet for us. Yeah, he's been very free in letting us do whatever we like to him. Yeah.
So Leon, tell us what's been the experience been like for you, and are you happy with what they've produced so far?
Oh, it's been very educational for me. I don't think I've ever spent this much time with engineers. I expected there'd be a lot more drinking, but so far they've only actually just been focusing on the project, which is a bit disappointing, but what can you do? In terms of the design itself, I think all of the designs that we've tried so far, they've had their merits, and it's been interesting to try them out. The most recent prototype is probably been the most successful so far, and that's what the team is hoping to finish within the week or so.
And Leon, I think one of the big things that we have to remember when we come into these Makeathons is it is an incredibly tight push for time to get some of these products made. Do you think it's going to take much more for you to actually get it completed so that you can take it home and use it?
I hope not. I think I feel like I've said this at every design that we've tried, but we're very close. Yeah, I hope this is the final design that we have to try, but if it's not, we'll keep whacking away at it.
And I'm sure, Leon, if it does get up and running and is something that is available on the internet, you're not going to be the only one that's going to want one of these, are you? There'll be plenty of people out there.
I'm sure they would be quite useful for a lot of people with not just my disability, but similar ones.
Yes, and I can say whilst I was off air just then, I was attempting to eat a piece of mandarin, and I'm an amputee with no hands. You can imagine I've just thrown mandarin pieces all over the office and made a hell of a mess. So fortunately my camera was off, so it's all good. Well, thank you both for joining us, and congratulations again on a wonderful project that you've put together, and I look forward to seeing the completed version out there helping people like yourself. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Maddie.
Cheers. So our next group is Team Nepean. Now, we are lucky enough to have one of our Tom colleagues here who's actually a teacher at the Nepean Special School. And one of the challenges that we have each time that we put a Makeathon on is getting the word out there that there are the opportunity for people to come forward with ideas that need to be built, and nothing better than having a whole primary school full of people with various different disabilities available to come up with ideas for us. And so our team here today is called Team Kaspar. So we have Sarah Carpenter and Taylor Hill, who are both working at the school, along with Christine Farrer, who is also another teacher at the special school. And Christine has a son called Kaspar, who has joined us today, and they're our need knowers. And their mentor was Hassan Milik. We also had on the team Irene Ung, Christopher Lee, Jacinta Oakley, Jan Lee, Lazuri Arga, sorry, I'm really bad with names, Jean Aquind, Perry Kagan Gashite, and Rob Pittman. And they're joining us today to explain what it is that they made for Kaspar at the special school. Thanks. Hopefully they're free to come on. I think they're all setting up. Here they are. Okay. Join us.
Hi, we're Team Kaspar, and what we had, if you could get to the next slide, thanks. And then one after that, thanks. So our design challenge was to allow Kaspar to use his pod book while he was in the wheelchair. And if you go to the next slide, literally they had a suitcase where they would keep the stand and the Toby device, and they would have to take this with them anywhere they needed to use the wheelchair, and it was quite cumbersome. So what we did was, if we go to the next slide, investigate a few different designs to allow them to use the pod book with the wheelchair. If you can go to the next slide, please. So we broke the problem up into 3 different sections. We had the stand for the pod book. We had the frame for the holding up the pod book, and then we came up with a storage device as well. And one more, please. Yeah. So with the stand, we had quite a few difficulties getting something that was strong enough to hold up the pod book. It was about 2 kilos. A lot of the existing stands out there were more designed for cameras or for phones, for instance, where the ball joints will be strong enough to hold them up, but not flexible enough for the stand. So we ended up having to create our own ones. If you go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So for the mount, we were looking at a few different designs, again, having to come up with a design that was flexible enough to be able to move around and strong enough to hold up the stand. Next screen, please. Yep. And with the stand, we had to come up with a design that was flexible enough to be used on the mount, and also to be able to be removed and we'll be able to use when Kaspar's not in his wheelchair, and flexible enough so that we can use the other devices that go with his wheelchair.
Demonstration.
Thanks, Christine.
We'll put it,
oh no, that's fine. You can put it into the storage case, it's easier. And then with the storage case, we had a few different iterations where we had to look at the different hooks and different shape boxes to fit everything inside it. So now with the storage case next to Kaspar, they don't need to carry around that big suitcase anymore. Everything's stored with the wheelchair, and this stand folds up on the side of the wheelchair. On the Makeathon day, when we were at Fab 9, we discovered that he had an existing mount that we could modify. So that's what we mainly did. We modified his existing mount so that it can be folded up and stored on the side of the wheelchair. Doesn't need to go into the storage case anymore. We also found out on that day that we needed to make this design universal so that the other students at the Nepean school can also use it if they wanted to. So on this slide, what we have is the 3D models that we've made and a few of the different designs that we're working on at the moment. So what we need to do is we need to reprint those parts in a much stronger material so that it can hold up the weight of the devices. Okay, that ends the slide deck that we have, and I wanted to say thank you to Taylor and Christine for their help, and especially to our team members for all their efforts they put in and all the long hours and late nights that they put in. So thank you.
Thank you. It looks like it's been definitely a team effort. Thank you, Chris, for telling us all about that. Chris, one question I've got for you is, do you think you would have been able to do this level of building in that space of time without 3D printing?
Potentially not. There were quite a few different things and a lot of iterations that we made. So we not only use 3D printing, but a lot of laser cutting as well. So most of the parts have been laser cut. We
are enjoying the wealth of technology that we have at our fingertips at the moment, that's for sure.
The kids, I wish I had 3D printing and laser cutting when I was a kid. I wouldn't have bugged my dad to drive me down to the Bunnings to buy parts. We just make everything that we needed.
I think that's why you're all doing it, because you've never grown up. Now you get to play kids even as an adult. Now, Christine, I've got a question for you. You're working at the special school as well, and how many people do you think this sort of setup would assist in your school?
Gosh, to be honest, probably most of the students in my class, definitely. more than 50% of students would absolutely, yeah.
She's already put in an order for multiples of the stand and
the stands. Oh my God, I need
frames.
those. Yeah, absolutely. And it's just the greatest thing about this design is that not only is it solid, and it's just so, I mean, I can just swing things around if I need to access him. It's actually really important because, you know, with Kaspar's medical care and things like that as well, we need to be able to have access the whole time. And it's just the way that the brains have been able to put this together. It's just hats off. It's just incredible. And I'm so grateful, so overwhelmed, but just so stoked. And Kaspar loves it too. And he's chosen the yellow color of his box. So he's going to be pretty schmick coming into school tomorrow. Yeah, it's been fantastic. And it's definitely going to, I think there's going to be a few queries at school once we get in there to get some more of these happening.
And Christine, in the hallway before we began, you were saying to me that you were amazed at how a whole group of strangers were willing to come and spend their time to help you and your son, and, you know, that you found that quite overwhelming.
Yeah, and humbling, absolutely. I mean, they've taken they could be just at home chilling, watching Netflix, doing, you know, going to the footy, but what they're doing is they're taking their time and their knowledge to really help people. And I'm just so grateful, and Kaspar's so grateful. We're thankful. And yay, oh my gosh, it's brilliant.
I'm sure we will have the two of you back at our next events coming up for sure. So thanks so much for joining us today. Congratulations to everybody in your team for getting this put together. No doubt you have changed, you know, the way that the classroom is going to work down at Nepean Special School. It's fantastic. Congratulations to you all, and thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so where are we up to? We've got our last team to come through today. So this is Team Charlie. Charlie is 7 years old, and he was looking for something to help him play amongst his friends, both at school and probably at home as well. And Charlie is brought in with his mum and dad, Anna and Lee Shelton. They've come in today, and we've also got a support worker, Matthew Beaconsfield, carers Miller, Sheasel and Hannah Kaspar, and also we had Andrew Henderson, got it wrong. Andrew Henderson was their mentor, and the maker team was made up of Alec Loshiev Arvo, Daniel Williams-Wynn, Jeremy Kostecki, John my mouth has gone completely. John Daraganis, Jonathan Lee, Rachel Yang, Sarah Van der Shans, and Tia Stewart. And they will be joining us in just a second with I know that their prototype they've made has already been put to good use at home. I think it might have even been used this morning. So, and we're joined by Jeremy here today. He's going to tell us all about it. Thanks.
Thanks, Mandy. Hi, everyone. My name is Jeremy, and this is Team Charlie. So I'm very excited here to be presenting our solution. And next slide, please. So as Mandy said, Charlie's a 7-year-old who suffers from severe ataxia, which are fine motor tremors, which make it difficult for him to walk without any support. So currently he has a walker, which he has both his hands basically holding him as he walks around. And this is a bit of a issue because as a young boy, he wants to get out and about, play with his friends and throw the ball and even have a lightsaber battle with his dad. So our solution was to try and make a walker, which will help him walk around without the use of his hands. This will give Charlie some independence to himself. And this is probably the main goal we want to have out of it. Next slide. Awesome. So our design process, basically we jumped on Zoom the next day. We're all excited to get straight onto this. We did some brainstorming, so some real rough sketches. And a few of the guys came up with some simple solutions, which we decided to build out of PVC. So PVC we found was a very easy material to work with. And essentially we'd do a quick mock-up and this would help us determine which direction we need to go in. Next slide, I think there'll be a video of us. Yes, so keep in mind, this prototype was done over about 2 hours with materials taken from Bunnings. So it's falling apart here and there, but you get the idea of what we're going after. And we see here the most important part was the lightsaber and a lightsaber holder. This was definitely a must-have. So we see here, he walks around and he's quite confident with just the one hand supporting him. So eventually what we want to do is get that two-hand, there we go, perfect. So we want him to walk without the use of his hands holding onto anywhere, no support. And what you see here around the waist is he's got a bit of a rubber band system, which is providing real bit of feedback to tell him where to move. And it provides this confidence. As you can see there you go, Charlie, perfect. Next slide, please. Well done, Charlie. Yes. So, well, the PVC was all good and well, but we decided we'd probably have to go a little bit better, a little bit more robust. So for the Fab 9 design day, we made it out of steel. And with, thanks to Andrew, we were able to weld the steel quite rapidly, and he was a real source of experience with us for that one. So, yes, so with the steel ones, we made it very wide initially because we found that with the PVC, Charlie would move towards one direction, and because of his ataxia, he wouldn't be able to right himself up, and he'd lean on one side and he'd tip over. So we decided to try and go wide footprint. And then we realized, well, he can't actually get through any doors. So we had to go back to the drawing board and think of a design that you can fit through a door, but also is stable. So lo and behold, we came up with this, oh, sorry, I'll slide back. Yeah, thank you. So we came up with that design there where he's drinking I believe it was a milkshake. So yes, he's able to now function a little bit better. The main thing out of this is he needs to learn. So it's a big learning curve for him to be able to realize that feedback from the harness is not just holding him in place, and he shouldn't be relying on it, because what we want him to do eventually is just to use it as a bit of a pinpoint of where his body space is, but he's going to keep himself up, keep his core engaged, and this is going to build up his muscle, and he's going to eventually be able to do it by himself. So that's our end goal. Yeah, one more slide over, please. And here we go. This was on Thursday night in his superhero outfit. You got to see him walking. And we were trying to coax him to have two hands by feeding him chocolate bullets, but unfortunately, he's just cramming them in his mouth one at a time. So you can still see he relies on the support with the one hand. So we found that if you try and give him something to hold, like a football or a lightsaber, he forgets about where he is, and he'll just hold it, and then he's able to stand quite well. And yeah, so it's going to be a learning curve. And next slide, please. Our future will be we're still in the progress of trying to get it perfect. We're going to hand it off to his OTs, and he's going to spend 2 weeks at school trying to figure out what else it needs. But there's our superhero image. He loves Captain America, and he's quite happy with it. He's getting more and more used to it, and we found the more and more he wears it, he almost forgets about it. And so it's quite interesting to see how fast he learns. It's taken a couple of weeks for him to go from not wanting to be in something like that to just almost getting himself into it. So it's, yeah, it's been quite a journey. And I'd like to thank Tom, Melvin, and everyone who was part of this team, our mentor, Andrew, and to Anna and Lee. It's been quite an amazing journey, and we look forward to the future. We're definitely going to keep going and try and make it 3.0 nice and sleek. So I don't know if Charlie wants to demonstrate it. If you want to come on. It's been a big day, guys, but okay, what is hand? Do it one hand. Hey, there you go. What's that? Do you want to speak to the microphone? What do you want to say? What do you want to say?
Thank you. Mummy's birthday.
It's tomorrow, isn't it? Yeah.
It's tomorrow.
Oh, look, he's got his priorities in the right place. Thank you. And it's Mum's birthday tomorrow. Well done, Charlie. That looks fantastic. Now, Lee, don't run away from that microphone there. Can we have a quick word to you?
Yep.
Now, tell us, Lee, what was it like for Charlie to get around before this device came on?
Charlie's always been, I guess you'd say, capable of moving, but he's always needed lots of assistance to do it. Now that comes in the form of either a wheelchair or his current walker. But as we said, it's always got his hands involved, or he's sitting in a chair. So it's very hard for him to engage with his peers when he's in that sort of situation. So yeah, the intent of this is to get him mobilizing more with his core and building up the walking, basically. So rather than either sitting and being in a wheelchair or having to rely on a sort of leaned over position where he's relying on his hands, it's about engaging that part of his body that he needs to learn to stabilize himself. So this is going to help him in big ways. It's going to take time, and there's some practice involved, but even over the last few days, just using it, and while we do it with his OTs and physios, we have noticed that he's already more willing just to hold a hand. So today, walking in here was the first time Charlie and I have walked together, holding hands, but him not relying on me to stabilize him. Hey,
so he's finally holding your hand just out of the love rather than
just walking along, holding hands.
Isn't that gorgeous? You couldn't ask for anything better. Well done. Well, congratulations. And I know Jeremy was saying that you've all become quite a little bit of a family there with your team. They all came and visited you, and he said that he feels very much that he wants to see the whole project through to the end. So I think there might be a little bit more fine tuning.
Yeah, well, I'm a designer myself, so we've got to work on the aesthetics now and get it looking cool. He's a 7-year-old boy, and we want his mates, when they see him in it, to think, geez, that's pretty cool.
Has he told you what colour he wants it painted?
He's probably black, like Batman, or we'll have to see. What colour is it going to be, Charlie? What's your favourite colour? All right,
red.
Just like
yes, red goes fast, Charlie. We all know that. Yeah, my bike's red, so maybe you might even have some Ferrari coloured paint somewhere.
Sounds good.
Well, congratulations. It looks like you are well on the way to having a really successful outcome. So
for sure. And I just want to say a quick thanks on behalf of our family, myself and Anna, Charlie and Oliver. We really appreciate the opportunity, and we feel very blessed to be part of this. And as Jeremy said, we've formed a pretty good little family around this. So we just want to thank Tom and everyone involved for, just this cool thing that's happened. It's really cool. And we didn't mention, but this thing folds up and gets in the back of the car beautifully. And that was one of the key problems as well. A lot of these walkers are very cumbersome and hard to get into the car. So this one folds up really nice and flat. You can see here, we just fold those down and then off we go. So we can take it many different places with us, and Charlie can be as mobile as he wants, wherever he wants. It's great.
That's fantastic. Yes. And, if you can get it in the back of the car, the world is your oyster, isn't it? Yeah. Congratulations. Well, pat everybody on the back. You've all done a brilliant job, and to get so far in such a short period of time, I think you should be very proud of yourselves. Well done.
Yeah.
All right. So thanks very much for that. Now, we will be hearing from a few members of our Tom community here in the office. They want to have a couple of words about what their experience has been like in the last few months. And I hope they're ready to go. If someone wants to click them in. Magic of technology. We'll get there in the end. One day we'll all be back in person, and we can just simply pass the microphone over to each other. but they will be close by. And also, the word on the street is they're hoping to put together another Makeathon, possibly by the end of this year even. So if you've got an idea, or if you know of someone out there that is looking for a solution for a disability problem, get your thinking caps on and start working out what it is that you might like. And when you see through social media or through email newsletters that the Makeathons are open again, make sure you put your name down, and you too can be part of the group building something new. Now we have Taylor and Kellen here. Take it away, girls.
Okay. We just want to say a massive thank you to our fantastic need knowers. Thank you so much for giving up your time with the teams, for any questions that they had. We know they had many, but thank you so much for your dedication and for all of your support. We couldn't have done it without you.
And I also wanted to give a big shout out to all of our makers. All of our makers are volunteers, so they're giving up their time after work, between classes, after classes. We couldn't have done this without you, as well as our mentors, Andrew Henderson, David Jennings, and Hassan Malik. So they've been with us for a couple of years now, and I know the teams really appreciated your help, especially as you guys are full-time engineers with many years of experience. You were able to help them bring together the solutions and also help them with the hand tools at Fab 9. So we're really appreciative of you. Mandy?
Yep. It's a hoot trying to press buttons when you haven't got any fingers. So sorry. Thank you, girls, for saying that. And yes, I'd like to put an extra special thank you in for David Jennings and Andrew Henderson. They have been with the Tom team from the day dot, and they were with me when we made bikes and wheelchairs, and they have been behind the scenes putting all this together. They are a wealth of knowledge and experience, and honestly, this wouldn't happen without the two of them. And I've been asked by everyone here to say a very special thank you to both David and Andrew for all of their effort, all of the hours. I know that the two of them have worked tirelessly over weekends, right through the night, and apologies to their friends and family for taking them away from, dinners and early nights. So congratulations to you both for again putting such an incredible effort into making these things possible. We are incredibly grateful. And also, I'd like to say thank you to Mary Henley-Kellepy over. She is still with us, lurking in the background here on Zoom. Thank you, Mary, for joining us as a Need Knower ambassador and making sure that all our Need Knowers are well looked after. There you are, Mary. Give us a wave. I'm not sure if you want to say any final words yourself, Mary.
I'd love to just say thank you to the patience of Leon, Kaspar, Charlie, and Oliver, and who have I left out? Brenton. The day of itself is quite a long day and quite tiring. So you guys, you rock. And the support workers that came with them were amazing. And the other one I would like to also acknowledge is Fab 9. None of this would be possible without them making themselves and their time available to us. I was speaking with one of them and made a suggestion about the disabled toilet door. Oh, he said, you gave us some suggestions last time. See, we've done that. And I said, well, this is one more for you. So thank you to everyone. And the Tom team, Callan, Taylor and Kumari, you're awesome. And I think the Tom committee is also to be congratulated. The board, this is your dream come true, and you're fulfilling a lot of dreams for people with disabilities as well. Thanks, Mandy.
Cheers, Mary. Yes, we do need to thank everybody back at the office. So a special thank you to Callan Huang, Taylor Hill, Kumari Fernando, and we've also got Josh Shamar, who is looking after the video today, along with his colleague Gideon Hine. And the very final thing that we must do before we finish up today is thank the supporters that are helping us put this together. Certainly these days would be we would never have them if we didn't have the financial support and also the emotional support of the people around us. And we must thank the Victorian State Government. They've been with us from the very beginning of all of the TOM events. And we, again, would not be able to put this on without them. We're incredibly grateful for their generous support over the years. The Erdi Foundation, who've not only supported us through this Makeathon, but over a number of years, they've supported us with strategic initiatives through our organisation. And of course, we must always remember Debbie Didon AM, who went to the first Makeathon over in Tel Aviv years ago, and her idea to bring this concept here to Melbourne is helping people like myself and every one of these people, all the need knowers that have been through the TOM program for the last few years. We must thank Debbie, because without her, this would never have happened. Her growth and the ability to develop the concept and bring it from Makeathon into schools. We're now doing TOM at schools. We've got TOM at university, and it is just going from strength to strength. And of course, we also have our sponsors. So thanks again to Fab9 for having us on site, MakerBot for providing all the equipment, Luna, My Event Live, Solve Disability Solution, and Scope. Again, without all of you helping us put together the TOM Makeathon for 2021, it would not have been as successful as it has been. And I congratulate all of you for being part of it. Thank you so much for joining us on your Sundays. I hope we'll get to see you again, and we have another reunion in 6 months, 12 months when we do it again next time. So please stay in touch. Make sure you keep an eye out for what we're doing next. And thanks very much for joining us today. I think that's it. All right, take care, everyone.